Welcome to the fourth session of SS1 British Exploitation and Resistance. The riots against the British that we have learned earlier, like Kuruchia Revolt, Santal Rebellion, and Malabar Rebellion, etc., were not organized. They were locally formed and not much massive, so the British could suppress it easily. But the political climate was totally changed in 1857. The first independent war broke out in every nook and corner of British India. Let's watch a video clip.
In February 1857, the sepoys of 19th Native Infantry at Berhampur refused to use the newly introduced Enfield rifles and broke out in mutiny. The infantry was disbanded in March 1857. On March 29, 1857, the Indian sepoys at Barakpur refused to use the greased cartridges. They were forced to buy the cartridges and load the rifles on a routine drill. Mangal Pandey, a young sepoy of the regiment, gets enraged and attacks his officers. He was later overpowered by the European soldiers of the regiment. The Indian sepoys get inspired by Mangal's act and tension grips in the entire regiment. Mangal Pandey shoots himself to avoid humiliating trial at the army court. However, he survives and is put on trial. He was subsequently hanged. On 9th May 1857, 85 sepoys at Meerut cantonment were stripped of their uniform and sentenced to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment for defying the orders on the issue of greased cartridges. On the next day, the other sepoys mutinied and released their fellow inmates. These sepoys marched towards Delhi and reached Red Fort in the early hours of 11th May. They persuaded Bahadur Shah II, the Mughal emperor, to become the leader of the revolt and proclaimed him as Shenshai-e-Hindustan. The rebels captured the city of Delhi from the British. Bahadur Shah wrote letters to all the chiefs and rulers of India, urging them to organize a confederacy of the Indian states to fight and replace the British regime. Storm centers of the revolt. At Delhi, the Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah was only a symbolic leader, and the real power was exercised by General Bakht Khan. At Kanpur, the revolt was led by Nana Sahib and his general Tantia Tope. The revolt at Lucknow was led by Begum Hazrat Mahal. Maulvi Ahmadullah of Faiziabad also organized rebellions and fought the British. Khan Bahadur Khan, a descendant of the last independent Rohilla leader, was a British pensioner at Bareilly. The revolt provided him an opportunity to claim his ruling rights over his territory. The revolt at Arha was led by Kuvar Singh, the Zamindar of Jagadishpur. Rani Lakshmi Bai offered a stiff resistance to the British at Jhansi, but she was finally defeated at Gwalior. The British captured Delhi on 20th September 1857. Bahadur Shah was taken as a prisoner and the royal princes were captured and shot dead. One by one, the great leaders of the revolt fell. The revolt was brutally suppressed, and by the end of 1859, the British authority over India was fully re-established. Even though the revolt of 1857 failed to overthrow the British rule, it helped in developing a nationalistic spirit and generated a feeling of oneness among the people of the country, which inspired the subsequent stages of freedom struggle.
Look at the screen, there is an extract about the riot started in the dawn of 11th May 1857. The historians and the Indians, we proudly call it as India's first war of independence. Let's discuss the reasons behind the revolt. Look at the screen. There gives the explanation of the reasons one by one. One, that is miseries of farmers. Second, poverty of the craftsmen. Third point, dissatisfaction of kings. And the final reason, that is the miseries of the sepoys. In Barakpur in Bengal, Mangal Pandey, an Indian soldier who hesitated to use the newly invented Enfield rifles, shot at a British officer who forced him to use this new cartridge. He was arrested and hanged to death. The struggle spread all over India, but the British called it as a sepoy mutiny. People from all walks of life, including kings, farmers, craftsmen, etc., took part in the rebellion. Along with the kings and the sepoys, common people also took part. They attacked the British moneylenders and set fire to their account books, deeds, and documents of transaction. The participation of the common people, like farmers and craftsmen, were very important. Out of 1.5 lakhs of people who were killed in the riots at Audh, a princely state, 1 lakh were the common people. The real strength of the rebellion was the Hindu Muslim unity. A spirit of cooperation existed among the soldiers, common people, and the leaders. The rioters captured Delhi and declared Bahadur Shah II as the Emperor of India. Look at the table. These are the centers of the revolt and the leaders who participated or who led the revolt from these centers. Actually, the rioters could not overcome the superior military power of the British and the rebellion was completely suppressed. But it brought many changes in the political and the economic structure of India. The first and most important among them was the British Parliament took over India from the British East India Company. It inflamed the spirit of nationalism and it assured the Hindu Muslim unity. The rebellion was suppressed by the British and the British economic exploitation was reached its extreme level in the post 1857 phase. There was a massive starvation and deaths at that time. In the second half of 19th century, around 2 crores of people died spread over 24 great famines.